Thank you, Susan's lovely music. And that there is only one. It's such a wonderful song. Well, so wonderful music. And it goes well with today because Home Office offered us mind. I'll tell you exactly what they offered us. One mind, infinite connection. So I titled my talk today, my homily as it's called, it is a homily, The Infinite Field of Mind and Love. The infinite field of mind and love. So welcome to the science of mind. The science of mind is a correlation with the laws of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelation of religion applied to human need and the aspirations of humankind. Right in the beginning of our declaration of principles, the very first one is, we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the necessary and logical outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. End of that one. So welcome to Honor Your Divine Invitation. You are here by divine appointment. And thank you for accepting the divine invitation. God sent out an invitation and you answered the call. The study of life gives us an opportunity to really understand how we live on planet Earth in this universe. The infinite field of mind with a capital M. And we added love to that because this is the month of love. How many people here know anything about ether? Well, Sir Oliver Lodge said, ether is the cement of matter. That's all scientific stuff, the cement of matter. So here's how Dr. Holmes puts it. He says, we think of the ether of mind as a universal subjectivity, the soul of the universe, just as the ether of space is a medium for physical action. Anything that has ever been thought at any time in the history of man exists today in the subjective state in universal mind. That is a mind-blowing statement. He says, when we get into the field of mind, there is no past, present, or future. They merge into one medium. You'll find out on page 95. Since in consciousness, there's always a unity. When we speak of subjective mind, we're also talking about the conscious mind. We are not talking about two minds. We're talking about one mind with more than one function. In this case, conscious and subjective or subconscious. Still only the one mind. Dr. Holmes also talks about a dual unity, law and order, spontaneous choice, volition, conscious action, and automatic reaction. The rest of what I'm going to share with you, I've shared it before, but it's needed to be repeated, especially at this time in our world development. The conscious mind is the area of spontaneous choice. Spontaneous choice, that's the conscious mind. Or volition, conscious thinking, if you will. The subconscious is the area of automatic reaction. Spirit flows, no past, and no present, only now. Spirit knows no past and is not affected by the belief in the past. So whatever the past is, it's been past. And we have to leave it there and move forward based on what we have learned from the past, how we have grown from the past, how we became aware of the past. So this is not so much about the past, it's about how we live in the now. The past is swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. That's a quote from Dr. Holmes on page 246. The past is swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. End of quote. All of this is to say it's to be present at any and every point within itself. It is not approaching a point nor receding from it. What's the it? God, its presence. But God is always at the point. All of God is at the point. At the same time, well, God is everywhere. The whole of God is present at any and every point within God. So the reason I bring that up is to give you a little bit of background about what we believe about this universal presence that is never absent and cannot be absent because it is universal and it is always present. God is not more or less in any one location, but is wholly present right where I am, right where you are, everywhere simultaneously. Can you think about that? If you think of God, God is present right there where you are in its fullness. And yet it is where I am in its fullness at the same time. That means that wherever we are, God is fully, completely, and wholly present. Isn't that incredible? Wherever we are, wherever, it doesn't matter where you are. You know, like the Apostle Paul said, if I go into the bowels of hell, thou art there. He knew what we're talking about. If 1 million people were to think of God at the same time, God would be present in the million places where those million people are. Isn't that a wonderful thing? This presence we are talking about is a field of consciousness, a field of mind, a field of infinite love, unconditional love. So if 1 million people were to think of God, and God is able to be with those million people simultaneously at the same time, that to me is worth exploration, is worth digging deeper to get a deeper meaning, to see how God could be with me 100% and God could be with you 100% at the same time, whether or not we are together or separate. That's just the most wonderful realization of something so infinite that our minds have a test in absorbing that truth. I'll tell you something what happened to me about the power of the presence of God. I shared this before, so some of you may remember this short item in my life. I was in the backyard years ago when I was living in a different place. And I had a little stool that was on wheels, and you can sit on it and wheel yourself from one area to the other, so you don't have to stand up and down all the time if you want to move. And that stool had it was able to be collapsed and folded, and you could take it and walk away. So I picked it up and was walking over to a different place where I could not roll into. And I went to sit on it. When it unfolded, the legs crossed close like that. And my finger was caught in the middle of that cross. And it felt like it was broken and ripped open. When I pulled my finger out, it looked like it was run over by a steamroller. And all I could do was to think of God is present right there. I held my finger like this. And I said, God is present right here. God is present right here. I was so obsessed with that. I knew that God was present right there in the midst of the pain and in the midst of what seemed like I'm going to lose my finger. Well, I'll tell you something. The pain went away before I moved my hand away. And within hours, my finger was back to normal. Back to normal. Within hours, the same day, the same afternoon. When we think of God, we are healed. You think of God being present with you, you are healed. Now, some people say, well, I thought about God a lot and I still have my disease and I still have this. Because when they say my disease, I have my disease, they are giving ownership to it because they call it their disease, dis-ease. And in any other way, any other words you use to describe something that you don't want in your life that seems to be there, every time you say, this is my problem, it stays as your problem until you disown it, and then it goes away. But you have to disown it. You have to affirm that there's a power greater than you are and able to change your life immediately. So when we think of God, we are healed. We become swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. Our work is done entirely in the field of mind. We're not doing work in the tangible, hoping to change the material externally. No. Our work is done in the field of mind, the infinite field of mind. Mind is everywhere present, always present, never absent, and 100% of itself right where you are, right where I am. That's why he said we are swallowed up in the victory of a perfect present, which is filled with love and protection. Our work is done entirely in the field of mind, page 199. You'll see that in Science of Mind. Anything that has ever been taught at any time in the history of man exists today in the subjective field of mind. So we get our knowledge from what already exists. You know, everything that you could think about, you can't think about anything that doesn't already exist. If you don't know where to find it, go to the library and you might find it there if you know how to dig. It's like digging for gold. Because we are in God, we are whole. Because we are in God, we are healed. Because we are in God, we are loved. Because we are in God, we are at peace. Because we are in God, we prosper. Because we are in God, we are cared for. Because we are in God, we are perfect. Because we are in God, we are powerful. Because we are in God, we are alive. Because we are in God, we are wise. Because we are in God, we are compassionate. Because we are in God, we are a point of divine love expressed in the world. Oh my God. Think about that. Think about how you can be consciously present of the God in all its fullness, right where you are. There's no reason to be afraid about what you perceive to be external, for turmoil, for whatever it is going on in your life. If you remember to go inside and find some elements of sincerity and say to yourself, God is present right where I am. You know why? We need to know this more now than any other time in the history of humankind. We need to know this now more so than we have ever known it, regardless of how deeply connected you think you have been in a spiritual sense connected to God. The truth is, you've never been disconnected from God. Your thinking was not there, but you are always in the heart of God. But when we become aware of that, our behavior changes. This is what is needed in the world today. The world we have created and evolved into needs this consciousness, end to end, length and breadth, all the way across. When we remember these truths, we shall be happy. When we remember these truths, we shall be peaceful, loved, loving, alive, powerful, and wise. We are made whole when we remember. You know, they always say, remember is putting the members back together. I'm sure you've heard me say that more than once. But when we remember, we remind ourselves of the truth of who we are. We are made whole through our memory of that beautiful truth of our being. So I ask, how many of you would like to see a better world that works for everyone? If you are one of those, I invite you to join me in knowing these truths that I mentioned. I'm willing to send it to you in writing so you could read it and remind yourself. Send it to you, email. Wonderful thing about electronics, you can have it without waiting for a mail carrier to drop it off. These truths and actively become, you can know this, you can actively become engaged with the mind of all humanity who desires this. We can change the world. But it starts with one of us, each one of us. So one of the ways in which you could do that is attend the healing prayer on Thursdays with Karen and Scotty. She's a licensed practitioner, experienced in doing things like that. There's a world prayer every Thursday, 5 o'clock, for 1 hour. Make that step if you really want to make a change. Or you could do that and attend the World Peace Meditation that I do on Tuesday nights. We take 1.5 hours to meditate on peace and harmony and goodness and oneness and love. And then we bless our homes. We bless the earth that the home is built on. We surround it with light and love, that we might have a good night's sleep and a perfect life where we live. So if you want to act upon this, this is what you can do now. Doesn't cost you anything, especially now that we have such a handle on Zoom. You can be present and see other people present there with you in the act of changing the world to be a better place that works for everyone. I sincerely invite you to do that because it's possible. All things are possible to those who believe. If you believe that, join. If you want to believe it, jump in. The water is warm. You'll be happy you did. I love you. God bless you. Namaste. So, what have you been thinking while you were listening? What was your mind saying to you? Do you have a question? We open up this time always for anybody who would like to ask a question, who would like to have something that they heard or thought they heard explored, if you will, to go into it more deeply. I would like us to just look at the affirmation again, because it's very pertinent to what we have done. The affirmation says, today I know that deep within my own being, there is the seed of perfection, which is made and given to me by the unconditional love of God. Isn't that wonderful? If you could affirm that and believe that, and that's true about you, this love, though invisible, is also made completely enfolding in its nature. In this eternal truth, I am surrounded, embraced, and held safely in the loving arms of divine wisdom and wholeness. You see, you're cared for. Today, I know the seed of perfection, which is nurtured with divine love, surrounds and keeps me in the heart of God. And here's that final affirmation. I am made of love. And so it is. So if everybody would just close their eyes, and what we're going to do is a spiritual mind treatment. We'll put it out into the air and the atmosphere for you to take hold of and use it for yourself. That means speak your word into it. So I know that God is present everywhere. There is no place where God is not. And God's love is present wherever God is, because God is love. God's wholeness is present wherever God is, because God is wholeness. Beauty. God is beauty from within and without. God is infinite knowingness, because God never loses the knowledge, because it is infinite knowingness. And by these qualities, these invaluable, immeasurable qualities of that one life, we are alive today, made in the image and likeness of that one. Each one of us is a microcosm of that one. In its specialness and uniqueness, each of us individualizes some part of that wholeness, that oneness. And it is that specialness that I seek to bring forth in our treatment today. That each of us can find the gift, find the specialness of our own nature. Why are we here? What are we doing? How can we be a light, a beneficial presence in our world? How can we help people who apparently are still living without this knowledge and having unhappy moments, unhappy days, an unhappy life? How can we become a presence that helps people to lift themselves out of negative situations? How can we help shining the light that all may know where to put their steps, where to land their feet, and to move forward. I know that it is possible, that enough of us, and there never really is enough of us until we know that there is enough of us. And when we know that, enough of us makes it work. I give thanks for the power of the spoken word, knowing that our hearts are open and we receive the light, the wisdom, the clarity, and the energy to move this forward. I release these words to that active law that is creating it right now in our favor, that's doing it so that we can become that light that we shine in the darkness of misunderstanding and unknowing. I release these words to the power that is greater than I am, that's able to use it and do for me and for everyone in this prayer. And so it is. Amen. So I want to close with my 10 take times. And I invite you to pay attention to these. Take time to muse. Take time to reflect. Take time to be silent. Take time to be in awe. Take time to contemplate. Take time to meditate. Take time to be alone. Take time to be quiet. Take time to hear the silence. And take time to know yourself. And God bless you and all who you love and those for whom you light the path. And the blessing comes right back into your life. And so it is. So it's time now for us to invite you to support us. If we ask you to put some money, give some tithe, some offering to help us continue in this. We have an address. You can mail in or you can send in your credit card numbers and it will be taken care of. And it is Box 1261, Middletown, Connecticut. That's all you need to know. CTCSL, P.O. Box 1261, Connecticut. And that will help us to do more, to reach more people, to light this world up, and to make a shift in the energy that people are still finding difficult with because of the belief in separation. We believe in oneness, and we really believe that that is possible, that we can help. We don't have to be the same, but we can still experience oneness. Our uniqueness cannot be compromised because it's here for a reason. Thank you for your generosity. And you know that every time you give something, you are activating the law of circulation and compensation. So when you start the circulatory system, you get your circulation going, and that makes you healthier financially, healthier emotionally, and in all the other ways. You're healthier because you have started the law of circulation in your favor. Thank you all, and